8radio.com.
Hello again, everybody. This is Joe Larson, and you're watching the 505 on Racing Show. We're in a little different set today because we're here to celebrate the 200th show of the 505 on Racing Show. And with me tonight, I have some special guests that came to help celebrate the occasion and talk some good racing. We have Marty Himes from the Himes Museum of Racing Nostalgia, Walter Johnston from MyRaceNews.com, and Pastor Scott Kraniak from the Racing with Jesus Ministries, and also the pastor at the Center Reach Bible Church. I want to thank you guys for taking time out of your schedules. This will be a two-part show for those watching. The second half, they're going to come back next week. So I appreciate that, you guys coming back for the second week. They all committed to do that. But it's a special event, 200 shows. It takes a lot to get the 200 shows, and I didn't do this by myself. So there's a lot of people I want to thank. This is probably why we have a two-part show. No, I'm only kidding. But there are people that I have to thank. And so as not to really leave anybody out, I made a list, believe it or not, because I don't remember things too good. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank these two special people, Bonnie and Chuck Schultz. Chuck and Bonnie, they are in Ravio.com. They created this. They came to me 205 shows ago. They asked me to be a co-host. They took a chance on me, and my co-host at the time, Henry Boston, I miss him. We had a lot of fun together. So between Chuck, Bonnie, and Henry, we started humbly, and I mean humbly. We did everything. The boards were on in front of us. The phone, we had a phone. We talked to the guests, and we grew. And we grew to what we have today, thanks to you guys and you guys out there. It was a tough beginning. I didn't think it was going to last, and here I am 200 shows later. So, with that being said, I want to thank some people who took the time to be on the show, call in and spend some time with us. And this isn't everybody. This is off the top of my head, and then I want to thank these guys. First of all, some of these guys are in some high places in racing, and not because of the show, but they've worked their way up. And one is Freddie Kraft, who from his humble beginnings on Long Island to a spotter in the Sprint Cup Series for Joe Gibbs Racing. Gary Fritz Jr., Long Island figure eight driver. DJ Hickton, crew chief at Wade Cole on the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour. Dave Brigatti, a multi-division champion on Long Island. Jeff Neubauer, publisher, wrote a book, Race Across the Moon, and many others. I'm sure if you saw that show, you're still talking about it. Mike Gravel-Buxer, former world champion demolition derby driver. Tom Kraft, multi-time figure eight champion. Burt Myers, Whelen Southern Modified Tour driver. Tom Rogers Jr., multiple division champion from Long Island. Amber Ferrari, a singer whose first recorded hit was played here on our show. John Wellman, if anybody from Long Island and the tour knows, sponsored many a race car, had people in racing that wouldn't have been able to do it if it were not for him. Roger Oxley, the winningest late model driver on Long Island. Timmy Solomino, the natural wheel and modified driver. Jesse Little, Camping World Truck Series driver. Kevin Basic, Long Island Need for Speed, who's probably watching and listening from home. Walter Johnston, MyRaceNews.com, and Marty Himes from the Himes Museum. I want to thank each and every one of you and the folks that I missed, like my daughter, who was also played co-host one day and had a good time doing it. I appreciate everybody's efforts and everybody coming on and making this happen, because I couldn't have done it without each and every one of you. And it's not easy. People think I just come down here and I put the microphone on and talk racing. And there's more to it. It's like any other business. Marty, your museum. It's more to it than just opening the gate and saying, come on in.
Sure is.
Walter, and with MyRaceNews.com, nobody realizes the logistics that you go through to make that happen. And Pastor Scott, what you do for racing, it's just incredible. Always there for people, whether it's
Thank you.
a shoulder to cry on or a shoulder to laugh with. So
Yeah.
nobody does it by themselves. And it's no different here. So anyway, racing. We probably have in this room over 200 years of racing experience, I'm thinking. Marty, you've been doing this
40 years.
40 years.
Just the museum, 40 years.
Just the museum.
I started racing in 1955.
1955. So that's, that's 45 and 15, that's 60 years ago.
And technically, it goes back a little further than that. When I was 12 years old,
Right.
I built a soapbox derby car,
Yep.
and I still have it.
I saw that in the
I still
museum.
have it.
So, and your brother Reggie, I remember when he was pushing you. I don't remember.
I was the
it. saw
pusher. He
pictures.
was.
You were the pusher.
I was the.
You
the
guys
bad
looked
guy.
alike back then. You
Yeah.
look a little different now.
Yeah.
But
Anyway, that's how far back we go.
yeah.
That's a long time.
Walt, I know you've been involved with MyRaces.com for a few years, the Long Island Jam for a few years,
Yeah.
but that's not where your racing started. And I was surprised when I learned this a few years back.
I way back to when I moved out to Brentwood in 1973. I just got a chance to go to Islip one night, and I said, well, I'd gone to Freeport and in the past, and I think I'd been at Islip once before back in the, I'd say, mid-'60s. Maybe even early 60s. And I liked racing. I wish I could have gone more often, but my dad wasn't a big fan, so I didn't get to go a lot. And I was talked into going this one night in 1973, and I enjoyed it so much that I made up my mind that I was going to make just about every Saturday night that I could from then on. And that's what I've done. There's been very few Saturdays I've missed.
And not only locally, you traveled
Oh
also.
yeah, for a while I had an RV. I was going to cup races out of state, and I'd go to some of the other tracks up in New England and Pennsylvania. I still go to them now, more as a spectator than anything else. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's nice to go to different places because you get to see different levels of racing depending on the size of the track. It's amazing sometimes the talent that you see, especially when you go to Pennsylvania, because a lot of the people who race there don't run on the modified tours, but they pretty much just stick close to home. They might show up at some of the special tour races or something like that, but none of them are really regulars on any of the organized tours. And it's nice to see the level of talent that seems to exist just about everywhere. I mean, I go to the North-South Shootout. I've been to every one except the first one, and that's a lot of fun too, because you get to see people from all the different series that are up north, and from the 2 different series that run down south.
Yep. So good. I worked that event a couple of years, and
Yeah.
it's amazing. And Pastor Scott, in dealing with you over the last couple of years, this isn't new to you either. You've been doing this racing stuff
Well,
for a while.
I'm kind of an oddball. I started my real passion, and I ended up with NASCAR. Never was really that type of a race enthusiast. I started out drag racing, street racing, going to the tracks, and that was my passion. And there's no more drag racing tracks around Long Island. And when I was asked to be part of the racetrack at Riverhead, I said, I'll take racing in any form. As long as there's engines and noise and tires burning, I'm there. So it was an easy transition for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, the Racing with Jesus Ministries, unless you're involved with racing, I was surprised when I went to my first tour race back in the 90s, because I wasn't into modifieds really, but I went and I saw, I can't remember his name now, Pat Evans.
Pat Evans, yeah.
Pat Evans,
Yeah, he was the
passed
founder.
away.
Yeah.
I'm like, who's this guy walking around and praying with people?
Yeah.
And I asked and I inquired, and then I met his wife Betty, and all of a sudden something clicked with me. I said, you know what, this is important. And so I kind of got involved, and I was going to the services and doing the pamphlet thing, and then doing all the good stuff, promoting, trying to get the officials when I became a tour official to get involved with the Racing with Jesus. Because for those who don't know, there's chapel service at every event, not only just in the modifieds, but the other touring series as well.
All over the country, Racing with Jesus is at every event. And that's what I like about, this sport, is that it's one of the last sports that we have God allowed in it. because it's been kicked out of everything. There's no praying, no national anthem, no nothing stuff. But you know, racing is all American, apple pie, Chevrolet, and they don't mind if you say a prayer.
Right.
You know, we're still allowed to do that. I'm waiting for them to kick us out of that. But you know, thank God for the down south Bible Belt where all the NASCAR people are. They want it, you know, and even at the track in Riverhead, you know, they wanted a chaplain, and I thought that was nice, and that they feel better when we're there.
But for years, it was Father Dan Blisco from the
Right.
the church in Smithtown, the Church of the Benedictine, I believe it was.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. That sounds familiar.
And Father Dan, he was when I was.
We just heard from him also.
Yes,
Yeah.
I saw that.
Yeah.
He was. He always brought me food. That's what I remember the best about Father Dan. And if I look down,
See, I don't bring food. That's what I'm
Put
missing.
his hand on my shoulder, and he would say, "Just listen." But with the Racing with Jesus ministry, it's very helpful. And I'll tell you what, you guys have always been there for me, whether it was up at a tour race here on Long Island or whatever, just a phone call away. And any of you guys and gals out there that are involved with racing on any level, seek out your track chaplain. Have a chat with him, talk to him, because it could be enlifting, enlightening too.
Yeah.
So
You know what? And the exciting part is I've gotten to do race-themed weddings, race-themed funerals. We have some guys who've passed away who laid out in their racing suit, and they wanted, the chaplain. We actually brought our car to one of the funerals, and they wanted a burnout at the right at the funeral home in honor of the driver. So we incorporate racing into every facet of your lives, and so it's a lot of fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
exactly. I remember Father Dan when Big Bob O'Rourke passed away. He did this eulogy, and even the eulogy was race themed. He said the green flag dropped on Bob O'Rourke's life, and he used the date that he was born, and went through his life. And then the caution flag came out. He had to go get checked out, And then when he finally passed, and he went to his home, his final home.
He gets the checkered flag.
I thought
got
the
the
caution
checker
flag is
flag.
when you get married.
That's the red
might be the
flag.
black
Everything
flag.
stops. But anyway, now Marty, years ago when you started doing this, back in the 50s or 55, there was no race chaplain, was there?
No, never.
It was you went your race, you collected your money, had a beer, and you went home pretty much.
That's right.
Now, and speaking about that, the then and the now, you've been around this for all these years, more than my lifetime. What's different about then and now that you see?
The people are sure different, that's for sure.
Right.
They think different than we thought in the old days. We weren't even in it for the money. Never in it for money. Now it's all money.
You just loved racing.
We loved racing, and I grew up with it. Mm-hmm. And I can even tell you how I started if you want to know.
Absolutely.
I moved to the town of Merrick, 1952. And I got a job parking cars. I moved a block away from the Freeport Stadium. So I got a job parking cars, waving a flashlight, come on in, put a ticket on the window. And I said, gee, I wonder what's going on over there. So I went over there. It was a Tuesday night, and I see these kids going around with the push carts, soapbox derbies. And I said, well, that's pretty good. And found out they were sponsored by the Nassau County Police Department, the PBC, Police Benevolent Association. And so I said, gee, we got to go home and build one of those. So we went home and spent a half hour, an hour, built one. Milk crates, cut the ends out of the milk crate and put the baby carriage wheels on.
Yeah.
Now we got to go next Tuesday and take it in. So I get there now, and I don't have a number on the car. Let me watch a race or two and pick out a number. And I saw this number 777. And he's doing really good. I said,
That's a
that's
good
my
number.
number. It turned out to be Eddie Brunhutzel, Senior.
Okay.
He'd been with me since the day I started.
Wow.
And so we used his number on the soapbox derby car, and here we are now. And I was in every form of racing that you could think of.
Right, yeah.
From the jalopies, the sedans, the non-Fords, the modifieds, midgets, sprint cars. I've done it all. And every kind of racetrack you could think of. Dirt, pavement, small, big, New Hampshire, Lime Rock. I've done it all.
Wow.
No,
That's why you're here
I
today.
had a great time.
Yeah.
that's
Loved
awesome.
And it's funny. I know a lot of people in this sport / business, and nobody looks back and say, "I shouldn't have done that."
No.
Oh,
You
no.
know? Maybe that week they say that.
Yeah. Spur
Well,
of the
some of
moment.
them might say we just don't see them anymore because they've disappeared too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you're right. I don't hear anybody saying, I don't know why I ever did this. I was just talking to some people Saturday, And we were talking about the aspect of racing versus the money that you get when you do it versus what it costs you. And I said to this one particular driver, I said, well, if you didn't like this, by now you would have said to yourself, well, this is ridiculous for me to spend all of this money. And he said, oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
There has to be something more to it. It's the passion, the desire to be there.
And that's a good segue. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the money aspects, what the money was back then, what the money back now is, and the cost to do it and the return when we come back.
Hey, this is Chris West Jake, and if InRavio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there. And we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Rich Weller. We're some of the proto men. If we see you without this bracelet, you get punched in the But if you have this bracelet from InRavio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered.
Hey, we're back. We talk getting into the course. Now, I remember when I first got involved with this sport, the pit fee at ISO Speedway was $5. That got you into the pit. And if you didn't qualify, you got your $5 back. Remember those days?
Yes, I do. I got even better than that. Pit fee at Freeport was $2.
Wow.
You didn't get it back, but it was $2.
$2.
Wow.
$2. And now, I remember Bob O'Rourke saying, back in those days, you can make a living racing because there was so many tracks on Long Island.
That's right.
And the payoff and the cost to operate were like, now it's like a teeter-totter. It's gone the other way. Now, speaking of the old tracks, tell us about some of the tracks that are no longer with
Well,
us.
first of all, there's only one left, and there were 40.
40 racetracks.
40 racetracks of all types. That includes the Vanderbilt, Mineola Fair. We had dirt racing. We had Deer Park Speedway. We had, there's so many.
Yeah.
And now everything is gone except Riverhead.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
It is a shame.
It really is. There's no reason for it to be like that, but it is.
But you know what happens is they have these, when they built these tracks, there was really nothing around. Even the ones that were built in Queens back then, there was nothing really around. And then people start moving next to it. You move next to a racetrack,
You expect the sound.
then you complain that it's
Yeah.
there.
I know.
You know, and I, like ISIS Speedway, I had an account when I was at UPS that the Silver Lake Cookie Company
Right.
was right there on the property where ISIS Speedway once stood. And I was, you know, I did my business inside, you know, and I'm in my car and I'm doing some stuff, and the guy saw my license plate frame said NASCAR. So he comes over and he's walking his dog, we're talking. He goes, "Oh, you're into NASCAR?" I said, "Yeah, I used to race here at ISIS Speedway." He goes, "I wish we would have kept the track here."
Absolutely.
I said, "Really?" He goes, "It was 25 Saturdays a year. This cookie factory is 24 hours a day,
24/7.
7 days a week,
Right.
52 weeks in a year." He goes, "Be careful what you wish for."
Yeah.
And basically that's what happened.
They had to petition the town to close Freeman Avenue down to traffic going through between
That's right.
Sunrise Highway and the service road next to the Parkway because so many people were then going through there when that cookie place opened up.
Yeah.
And that's when they found out maybe we should have stayed with what we had.
Yeah. Maybe. Now, and speaking of the purses, back, like I said, it was $5 to get in, and I got my $5 back, and the license was like $20, you know. Now my tour license is almost $400, and it's $75 to get in the pits, and you got to pay an inspection fee and all kinds of nonsense.
My last modified driver's license at ISIP and NASCAR was $20.
$20.
$20 in 1972.
And that's the feature division.
Oh yeah, the top of the line.
Top of the line.
$20, and I still have them.
Yeah, I have
course.
all of mine too.
I have
all
them
the
all.
scrapbook, oh, the big scrapbook now. But you know, prior, I was just going through something. I'm consolidating my junk, you know, so to speak, as some people call. And I'm going through, and I found the 2003 NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour entry blank for New Hampshire, 18,000 to win, 2003. And I'm looking at the one from last year, and it was 11,000 to win. Something's wrong with that picture. Now, that's not NASCAR's fault. That's not the driver's fault. The promoters are saying, "Wow, let's see how low we could go. They'll still come." In my opinion, I think that's what's going on.
They've got a captive audience.
It's possible. It's possible because they know it's limited. They know that what do they run 2 races there now?
Yeah, 2 tour races. Yeah.
So I would hope that maybe this time around, especially up in New Hampshire, they might get back to 40-something cars. There was 35 cars at Thompson, which hasn't happened in I don't know when for the Icebreaker.
You know, it's kind of funny. It was Jimmy Wilson was quoted as saying, Jimmy Wilson, the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour Series director, expects car counts to be into the upper 20s. Upper 20s. from a low to mid 20s last year.
Okay.
He wasn't around, but we were sending more cars home than we were starting the races.
We've had
Well-
40, 50 cars on a given Saturday night at ISIP Speedway.
Yeah.
Cars, and you're watching the blackboard for the alternate, first alternate, second, and everybody's praying, I hope that guy don't make it, so we can get in a race. That's how many cars we had
Right.
in one race.
One of my first tour races in 2003 as an official was at Riverhead, and there were 68 cars for 28 spots. And Jamie Tomeno, who supported every single tour race up until then and every single tour race up till now, was bumped out of that race because of a past champions provisional that Wayne Anderson took. And then thus they changed the rules the following week that you had to compete in order to use that provisional.
Yeah.
But that's how we sent home 38 cars.
That's right.
You know, now they're not sending home anybody.
Well, back in the 80s at the Race of Champions up in Pocono, I think the first year that they ran on the 3/4 mile track after they had given up running on the big track, that first year, I think there was something like 106 modifieds that were entered for that race. And they were only starting 60 cars.
Right.
Okay, which means that 46 people went to the trouble of coming to that track, and I don't think too many people were local. They were all coming from somewhere around the Northeast. They got to go out there and try, and it didn't work, and they spent all that money, and back home they went.
The other thing is we also got paid for qualifying heats, got money.
Yep.
In a consolation, you got money.
Yeah.
And the main event, you got money.
It's just incredible. You know, and looking at like I said, the purses. The purses at the local weekly tracks now are less than what they were 30 years ago.
At ISIP Speedway, the last money we got for winning a main event was $1,500. How much is it now?
14.
That's
for
something
14
wrong right there,
14
right?
change, right.
It cost them, everything went up tenfold, 20-fold.
Right.
And they're getting less money now than they got in Iceland.
Yeah,
It don't make sense.
and you wonder that people want to blame the economy. I don't think it is the economy when I see drivers driving past their local track and going over 2 bridges to go race in Pennsylvania
Yeah,
or upstate New York. It's not the
hard.
economy.
No.
They're
You know,
doing
it's
it.
not the economy at all, in my opinion. But you know, again, looking at the purses that were paid years ago, they weren't charging a lot to get in.
Nope.
The pit fee wasn't that. I don't know if it was paid the purses through sponsorship, through some wealthy guy who had a bag of cash this way. But now it's like I look at the payoffs, and the winner loses money.
I had a couple of sponsors in those days, and Liberty Electrical Supply on 110.
Yeah, I know that
Anything I
place,
needed. Mars Auto Stores in Bayshore
Bayshore.
and Freeport
Yeah.
gave us money, and not a lot of money, but it all helped. And our tires were $37, you know, stuff like that. So we actually made money. Mm-hmm. And it's not that way anyway. And now you got to have 4 brand new tires every single night.
Every night.
Every single night.
That's
And if you won every race all season long, you still would not break even.
You wouldn't break even. No,
You
it's not,
wouldn't-
it's not humanly
It would
possible.
be costing you more money.
yeah.
Wow.
I know on the modified tour, Hoosier, the tire supplier, lowered the price of tires. They lowered the price. And it was just an article I saw in Area Auto Racing News is that was a good deal. At least it looked like it was a good deal. The teams that it hurt were the back market guys who needed those extra free tires. Because what they did is they lowered the price, but they weren't giving out the freebies anymore.
That's right.
See, the top teams, they're going out, they're going to get as many tires as they can. They're going to go to a Thompson, get 10 tires, and then you could get 4 extra ahead of time to scale your car and get it ready. And the low buck guy, he's getting 4, he's getting maybe 6, because the tires you have to get them there, you have to qualify them, you got to start the race on. These other times, like at Thompson, they were able to get 10 tires for the weekend. They could use 7 for the race, 4 in the car and 3 spares. Any position. Those guys, it doesn't matter. They're in the top anyway. They're making money. It was a whole big. It broke it down how much it actually cost the low buck guy, even though the tire price went down.
Right.
And good gesture on Hoosier's part. They negotiated a new contract this year. American Racer was in the running, and they said, "You know what? We'll lower the price of the tire." But to do that, we're not giving out the freebies because the winner got a tire. And if you're in the top 20 in points, you got a tire, and if you're in the top 20 in the race, you got a tire. But now you don't get those. You don't get those. And again, and the purses have dropped, and now the spec motor. The spec motor, which was supposed to be a savings to these guys, is $35,000.
Well, it's still cheaper than 50 for a built one, but
But a built one,
they
you
seem
could
to be
rebuild.
working-
That's a lot of
but
money.
They seem to
That's
be
a lot of
working
money.
out.
Oh, they are working out.
Yes,
they are
they-
working
they
out.
seem to be
I
working
think that's
out.
why
I
it went
mean-
up from 25 to 35.
Right.
They changed something with the carburetors and something with the jetting and the gears. But what is that going to do? And I talked about this a couple weeks on the show. What that's doing is now, at what point in time is NASCAR going to say, now you got to buy your body panels from us? They already have the seat rule.
It's coming.
And I did a study on roofs a few years ago. That's the first part. There's templates in the trailer for these cars because they want this series to be like a Cup Series. But that's neither here nor there. But it's just something to think about. What's going on? And that's what's driven some of these guys out of this sport with these seats, the seat rule, this other rule. What were they saying? The seat that they had before wasn't safe.
No, just the new one is safer.
That's what they
Okay,
say.
and when you yourself know that when it comes to safety, anything that you can come up with that improves the safety, improves the ability of the driver to maybe not suffer a worse injury than he might have 5 years ago
yeah.
or something like
I
that.
agree with that.
Is definitely worthwhile.
The fatalities are down. I mean,
Right.
they are much
I'd
safer
rather
cars.
see a guy with a $4,000 driver's seat whose car needs to be painted and he put the numbers on with tape because that's all he can afford to do.
Exactly.
And we've
than
seen
somebody
that.
with a fancy paint job and a crummy seat and a cheap helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they say if you have a $10 head, you get a $10 helmet.
Exactly.
When I started
Exactly.
racing, we used like a jockey's helmet, a Cromwell with leather soft sides, and you tied it in a knot, and
Rolled up your
and a
sleeves.
T-shirt. And then they first came out at Isom Speedway with fireproof uniforms. Yeah, wrong. The only time they were fireproof is if they were wet. That's the truth.
Really?
We had to dip them in before we could put them on, dip them in water and some kind of solution, and up and down a couple of times. Don't wring them out.
Otherwise, it was like wearing a jumpsuit.
Otherwise, it was just like wearing a jumpsuit.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's the way it was.
Well, it took them a while to come up with fabric that was comfortable and flexible enough
Yeah.
that was not going to be a problem.
Anything
I-
that's safety is good.
Some of them now are still only good for 30 to 45 seconds, but they figure that they can get to you, get you out of the car, or
In that
extinguish
amount of
the
time.
right.
You know, it's over the years, and I remember when fire suits first came out at ISIS Speedway, and the drivers were so against it. You know, it was uncomfortable. It was this, it was that, and the gloves, and then when they stopped with they had to get a full face helmet. I hated it. I couldn't see.
I couldn't either. I couldn't draw. I tried one night, and that was it. I had to take
I was
it off.
like, you know, because not that I was a top-notch driver. I wasn't even in the middle of the pack, but I still couldn't see.
That's right. I
That
called
full
claustrophobia.
face helmet for some, I was just going to say,
Especially
something
your
is claustrophobic, forget it.
The vision on the side is really
Nothing.
decreased. You can't see on the side.
Well, that's why you have a spotter. The spotter
And at
tells
that
you
time-
everything. Really?
What's
huh?
going
That
on,
time
yeah.
I was driving a midget, and you need to look this way and that way.
Yep.
And with those helmets, you couldn't do that.
No, you can't do that. Hey, when we come back, we're going to talk about Bristol real quick, and Pastor Scott, he has a book out. We're going to show everybody. Man.
Thank you.
When we come back.
2 authors in the room. Wow.
What's up, guys? We're Scared No Fair, and we're here with Enravio. If they catch you at a show with one of these bracelets, you will win $100.
That's a lot of money.
So get a bracelet.
Do whatever it takes to get that. Hit them up online.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Enravio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Enravio.com.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Russ Weller. We're some of the Proto Men. If we see you without this bracelet, you get punched in the But if you have this bracelet from Enravio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered.
Hey, we're back. Welcome back. Hey, before I forget, because we're going to get talking racing and stuff. You have a book that recently came out. What
Yeah.
can you tell us about it a little bit?
Yeah, I have a book here. This book is called Depression and Anxiety and the Child of God. Besides being a track chaplain and running a small church, I've been a counselor for about 15, 16 years, and I do a lot of counseling and people at the track too. It's a lot of fun. People going through hard times, they don't have a person to go to, so they can feel they can relate to me, so they come to me. And everybody goes through times of depression, down, fears and things like that. So I put out this book. This is my third book, and you can get it on Amazon, or you can go to your local bookstore, Barnes & Noble, and request it. It's from Tate Publishing. And, I try to, I have a suicide hotline. There's always somebody who calls at 3 o'clock in the morning and is going through a hard time and has gone through a big loss, and try to be there for them. So that's part of my ministry.
Thank you. And,
Also,
again, if anybody needs a book, Amazon.com.
Amazon.com.
Yep.
Yep.
And I'm sure if they catch up with you at some racetrack,
Yep. I'll show you how to get it. We can give you an autographed copy.
There you go. All right, let's so quick NASCAR news. Richard Childress Racing appealed its penalty of Ryan Newman's tire infraction from a couple of weeks ago. Childress was confident that the penalty would be overturned by NASCAR. Lost. 75 points for the driver, 75 points for the owner, plus fines for the crew chief. So Mr. Childress isn't happy with that.
That was something to do with small holes in a tire or something like that?
Yeah,
That's strange.
Yeah. Somebody had a...
Somebody did a lot of research to figure something like that would work.
Michael Waltrip Racing signed Maxwell House Coffee for participating sponsor for the 2015 year for 5 races and the Daytona 500 in 2016. Clint Boyer will drive the Maxwell House number 15 at Watkins Glen, Pocono, Martinsville, and Texas, whereas Michael Waltrip will drive the Talladega and in October and the 2016 Daytona 500. The Wheeler Modified Spec Motor, we talked about briefly before. 18 of 35 cars ran a NASCAR Spec Motor at Thompson in 2014, up from the 2 teams that ran a Spec Motor last year in the same race at Thompson. And you could get this Spec Motor for just under $35,000. NASCAR's Director of Touring Divisions stated to the media group, he felt that the Spec Engine program was giving an increased car count. I don't see how the Spec Motor is going to increase car counts, but I'll agree with him on that, just so they don't use that against me when I send my resume back in. And my car tour owner, Mark Seifer, has teamed up with 2-time tour champion Donnie Leah. And after a practice crash, Donnie Leah was able to get the car repaired, returned to the race, and finished a respectable 8th. So that's good for Mark Seifer. Mark Seifer, a good guy, a friend of mine, and he had Glenn Tyler driving for him for years, driving the 8-ball. And Glenn Reen drove the car last year, and I think Mark Seifer is going to have a successful season with Donnie Lee. Donnie Lee is successful in just about everything he drives, so that'll be a good thing. Now, you were at Thompson for the epic. I know that's kind of old news, but did you notice that the Tour Spec Motor cars were that much faster?
It was really hard to tell, unless you heard it over the PA, that when they were talking about it, who had one and who didn't. The cars performed quite well. To find out that I believe Doug Coby had one in his car and he won the race, and he was good throughout the day. There was really no problems. Knowing how many people they mentioned it before, and I hadn't paid a whole lot of attention to the numbers, but when they brought it up afterwards, I was very surprised that as many cars did as well as they did, because there were other people who I don't believe had Spec Motors who did not have such a good day and had motor difficulties that took them out of the race early.
Right. Yeah.
So.
It's interesting to see how that'll pan out over there. I know in the beginning there was only 1 or 2, and they weren't competitive on some of the shorter tracks. The motor wasn't designed for that. It was basically the technology that they had in the Kenny and Pro Series. Those they ran on bigger tracks.
Well, the thing is, if you're going to come out with something like that and just make it optional, you have to be able to develop it to the point where it's competitive with the people who are staying with the old style, and yet not better than that, because then they're going to say, well, you allowed these people to have a dominating motor, and you need to give us a weight break or something like that, because we can't, remember the old arguments back in Cup when, Pontiac got a change to the body of the car, and Ford and Chevy said, hey, wait a minute, we need to, more spoiler or less spoiler, and then they changed that. And then all of a sudden, Chevys or Fords have become dominant, then and that's how they ended up going to, this is the body you're going to use, and that's it.
Which they all pretty much look the same.
Yeah.
Except for the decals that differentiated with the lights. Now, about years ago, when we took modifieds, you drove modifieds, and they were called modifieds because you took what you had, you modified it.
That's right.
The cookie cutter cars of today, because they are cookie. If they weren't painted and didn't have numbers,
You wouldn't know who's who.
But back in the day, they can come out in primer. That's Charlie Steinbach.
Oh, yeah,
that's
absolutely.
That's
No
Marty
two cars
Hines.
were alike.
No.
None.
None. And I think that's what's missing today in the modifieds. And the fan attraction to that was they related to, hey, I got that car. I have a Gremlin. I have a Pinto.
Yeah.
I have a Vega.
And some nights I'd have two modifieds at Freeport or Islip, and both of them were different.
Yeah.
Because they were cut different. The windows were bigger than whatever.
And it depended on what you had available back then.
What was available.
You didn't call your local parts guy, give me
No.
2/4 panels on the
No,
roof. You made it. You
But
went
we
with
cut up a
that.
37 Plymouth or a 37 Ford Coupe and did what we had to do.
Exactly. And even in the drag racing guys, the guys who raced on legitimate drag strips, not
Yeah.
the guys who raced on
On the
Anderson
streets,
Avenue,
on
West Babylon, and 231.
Deer
in
Park
Babylon.
Avenue.
Deer Park Avenue.
Back in the day.
Back in the day. The conduit, you know.
It was like American graffiti back then. I loved it.
Today, even I watch drag racing, sometimes I'll be channel surfing, and it's not my favorite thing to watch, but I watch from Charlotte. They run 5 at a time. Four at a time.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool. You know?
Yeah.
But going back in this, because I know you played with some cars in your day, and
Yeah.
now in today, what do you see that's different between then and now?
Oh, then and now, I mean, one thing is there, like with the circle track racing, is there very few places to race. And a lot of people are pulling out of it because they just can't afford it, because you got to go to New Jersey. You got to fill up your car with gas, your trailer, your truck, and then you got to wait online to maybe get one run in, if you're lucky, all day. And I remember at Riverhead, they tried that 100-foot drag for a while, and all the old timers came out of the woodwork.
Right.
Guys had these cars in their garage, big blowers on them, but it wasn't the same. The 100-foot, you're done. But I think, I mean, we all talk about it. We hear it 100 times. Why can't we build a track out in Calverton, have a combination, circle, drag, motocross? It seems like a no-brainer, but
We tried.
People don't want it.
It's been tried already. I mean,
And
to pull it off.
Yeah.
And I have the actual blueprints home for the Calverton site.
Yeah,
And
this-
it was going to be a beautiful multi-purpose facility.
Yep.
Everything concerts could have been, everything could have
It
happened on
would
that
be,
property.
an instant intake of money and finances for the local communities. People would come all over.
Right, and the difficulty is you're in a population on an island with more than 3 million people. So yes, not everybody is going to want to do this, but I think out of the 3 million people, there's enough people that will
there's-
support it on a
there's a
regular
lot.
basis that would be
There's a
happy
lot.
that it's there. I was just talking to a new neighbor of mine who told me that he was into drag racing. He lived in Queens. He just moved out to Suffolk County near where I am. And I said to him, you do realize that there's no place to see drag racing out here? And he said, yeah. He said, I found that out after I moved out here. He says, I thought there was still a drag strip. I said, no, he's been gone for a while. I said, you have to go to New Jersey now if you want to see
I even
drag racing.
contacted a local town by me and spoke to the supervisors and stuff and said, listen, I got a way, guys. There's so much of a lost revenue that you can have. This is a no-brainer. I would help you. I know the people who want to do this. Yeah, it sounds great, but it's always the not in my backyard people.
That's right.
Right.
They're gonna stop it. I don't know why they can't drop it down, put those sound walls up. I think it wouldn't be that loud. You can do it. But,
Calverton would have been ideal.
yeah, it's there.
Ideal.
Easy
Ideal.
in, easy out, perfect.
No problem whatsoever. And if you ever come to my museum, remind me to show you the blueprints.
You got that
You'd
for
be
that.
submit.
I was involved with that.
Well, we
that
hope
deal
and pray
with
for that maybe one day.
But for those of you that tuned in and you don't see my normal table and backdrop, we decided to do the show from my living room. No. It's Studio A, and what did we do? We made it look like my living room, except my living room doesn't have the steering wheel. That's the steering wheel from my wreck in '96. We got some stuff laying around, and I have a hat from every series I worked in, all the way from the Sprint Cup series to the weekly racing series, that we kind of thrown around, and some other things, just to make it look a little racing. So, what do you think of this set, guy? You've been a few
You
times.
only have one book. You got two
I didn't
books.
bring
that
the
were on
other
sale.
one. I didn't
You
bring the
should've
other
said
one.
I would have brought it.
Well, the other two, but
Put my book up like this.
You got the Scott's book up here in the past, but it's
The other
we just
two, a
needed
third
to-
one came out?
not yet.
How did I miss that? I was going to say.
It's that it's ready. It's ready to go to print. Except
So waiting for an ink delivery, I
My
know.
cover designer had a death in the family, and right in the middle of designing my cover, and she hasn't been the same, and I have to go get another cover designer. And that's not cheap.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But anyway, that has nothing to do
I might
with
know
it.
one for you. Person who
I mean,
signed my cover.
it's two of them, a view from the back seat and a view from the inside. Ready, sitting there, ready to go.
That view from the back seat is a very,
And the view from the back seat,
very strange title.
everybody's going to buy it and be surprised at what it's really about. We're going to take a break. We come back with the results of Bristol and talk about the empty seats, even though the weather was bad, when we come back.
For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit hansoncarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered. The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there. And we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com.
Hey, this is Chris Les Jake, and if InRavio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
What's up, guys? We're Scano Fair, and we're here with InRavio. If they catch you at a show with one of these bracelets, you will win $100.
That's a lot of money.
So get a bracelet.
Do whatever it takes to get that. Hit them up online.
Hey, we're back. It's funny how time is just flying by.
Yeah.
Good thing this is what you guys are coming back next week to do this again.
You talk
Pretty cool.
racing, you could just keep on going all night
Oh,
long.
yeah.
Anyway, the top series in Bristol this past weekend. In the Xfinity Series, Joey Logano was the winner. I got to put my glasses because I'm getting old. Daniel Suarez was second. Chris Buescher was third. Eric Jones fourth. Ty Dillon was fifth. Chase Elliott sixth. Kevin Harvick was seventh. Brian Scott eighth. Brendan Gaughan ninth. Rounding out the top 10, Elliott Sadler. The Bristol Enduro, Sprint Cup race. That race ended at like 10 o'clock at night. Rain delay after rain delay and empty seats, even at the start of the race. Empty seats. But Matt Kenseth won the marathon with Jimmy Johnson second, Jeff Gordon third, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. was fourth, Ryan Newman fifth, Tony Stewart sixth, Kyle Larson seventh, Justin Algai eighth, Danica Patrick ninth, and Austin Dillon rounding out the top 10. Cup races. Years ago, you were going to cup races semi-regularly, like you said, with the RV and whatnot. What's the difference between then and now?
I think their whole thing of going to this singular body, that took some of the competition out of it. It's really hard to say, because when they get on the super speedways where they're using the restrictor plates and everything, it's almost like everybody is the same. You know, they put 43 cars out there at the start, and all through the whole TV broadcast, every once in a while they mention about there's a pack of 33, 34 cars all running together, bumper to bumper, side by side, and it's like nobody can, for all the research and everything that they do in their engine shops and their chassis setup and everything else, all they can do is hope that they're in the right place at the right time when the checkered flag comes out at the end, and that they get through what seems to be almost every one of those events, the big one that takes out whoever happens to be in the wrong place at the right time. There's something about too many manufactured vehicles, too many less than working with stock parts. I'm not saying, I know that the race motor is not stock and probably hasn't been forever and ever, but I think if they stayed with more stock components and let people try innovations from home in the garage, that you would see different things. I know when I first started going, you'd see a guy who was never going to finish any better than 7th or 8th, would suddenly discover something before the end of the season or over the off season, and he'd come back the next year and he was in the top 3 every week. He was winning races and everything. And people would go by and say, what did you do to your car? Well, we tried changing this, and they'd go home and they tried. It wouldn't work for them, okay? But they were doing the same kind of research, and then all of a sudden, another guy who always seemed to be in the back was up front.
Right.
And it made it better because you knew who you could depend on to be up front just about every week, as long as nothing went wrong with their cars. And to see these other people join them made it a lot more fun to watch the race.
Right.
I mean, it's no fun to go to a 30, 35 lap race and watch the guy you figure is probably going to win because he's dominant go out into the lead on lap 15 and start to pull away from everybody, and the only way anybody's going to catch up to him is if there's a caution.
Right. Yeah. Now, Marty, again, there's no secret you've been doing this a long time. Even the modifieds of your time and the modifieds today. You took a Charlie Dzambak car from the 70s and put a Ryan Preece car out on a racetrack today. What do you think would happen?
Well, it depends on who would be driving. That's number one. If Charlie Dzambak was driving that car, he'd still win.
Still win.
He was great.
Yeah.
They don't come along like him too much.
We have a little clip, I believe, from Marty's museum that I think we're going to show real quick before we wrap up this first half, and you'll catch it on the monitor here, you guys. I had the opportunity to go out to Marty's annual gathering reunion every year. And when is it? So
last Sunday in August.
Last Sunday in August. We all go out and we have a good time and plenty of food, plenty of drink.
400 or 500 people.
Yeah, plenty of people and plenty of stuff to just sit and talk racing. We need to do that for like a weekend because a Sunday afternoon ain't cutting it.
Yeah, but I'm under restriction because the place across the street works on Saturday.
Oh, okay.
So we take the whole block.
Yeah.
The whole street is mine.
So I believe we have this a clip from it. If we can bring it up from the control room.
Hi, I'm Marty Himes, and welcome to my auto racing museum.
Marty Himes, curator of the Himes Museum of Nostalgia. Marty, I want to thank you for not only for this opportunity to come here with my crew, but for doing what you do, preserving racing's history. What made you do this?
Well, I raced for many years myself. Freeport Islip, the greatest place in the world, Freeport and Islip, both of them. And when I stopped racing, I discussed it with my wife. We got to do something about preserving this history. And the very first picture I took and hung it on the wall was a picture of a famous man from Freeport, Bill Schindler. Raced with only one leg. But anyway, that started this whole thing in 1975. And look at it now. There's over 500,000 photos here.
Now, my crew was walking around in the house before. Even the bathroom has stuff in it. Is there any spot in your house that doesn't have racing stuff?
No. No, every room, the basement, the garages, the yard, the street, it's racing. We live for racing here.
Absolutely.
But racing history.
Yep.
I feel great. I feel like I finally accomplished something on this earth. I mean, I know, and I'm sure I did.
But that was that day. That was the last year's reunion in 2014. Was there all day. I must have interviewed 50 guys.
Oh yeah.
And we had a great time. And I thank you. I know we thank you, but I want to thank you here publicly because nobody realizes what you go through.
That's true.
And to make that happen and to keep it going. And I used to tease people. I says, you know, "Yeah, Marty has stuff everywhere except in the bathroom." Then I used the bathroom. And there was stuff in the bathroom.
And I still have one chair
One chair that's
to sit in. That's mine.
in the middle of everything. There's Marty's chair with his TV right there.
Did you check the refrigerator?
Now, Marty, a question came from one of our viewers. Someday, way down the road, when your time is up and you got to go run that museum up in the sky, what's the plan for the Hymes Museum of Racing?
Tell you what, it's on my mind every day now. I really don't have it down pat yet, but I'm working on it.
Okay.
I really have to do something because I hate to see it go down a drain. I got 40 years invested in it already, out of my own pocket.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with money either. It's just that I've done it all by myself for 40 years.
And it's a passion, and whoever does it has
And
to.
I'm good at it.
Yes.
You know, when you want to laugh, and Walter knows this, you'll say to Marty, remember that driver, Gagos Paisano, he raced, he'll go and come back with something from that guy.
From him. People say, I bring stuff out of my pocket. They say, how did you know I was going to ask you that question? I have a pocket full of stuff.
Great. Awesome.
But the Hymes Museum, 15 O'Neill Place.
15 O'Neill Avenue, Bayshore.
Bayshore. If you haven't been there,
You're missing something.
take a couple
If you
of days
go
and
there and you're not impressed, you're not a race fan.
A
looking
garage.
forward to it.
There's a garage just with photo albums and books and pictures. And it's funny, you're looking, that's me, you know.
Oh, yeah, you're in there.
I'm in
My photo collection alone is over 500,000.
Wow.
Not counting movies and videos and books. And lots of books, hundreds of books autographed, including yours.
Yeah.
Yours is autographed on the shelf.
Yeah.
Did the fellas who filmed the Blunderbuss movie, did they go
Oh,
see
yeah.
us?
Oh, I'm in it already. It's on. I saw it tonight on the internet.
The trailer they have
Yeah,
for
I
it?
saw the trailer. I'm in it, sitting in my chair. The
Good.
chair I'm talking about. I'm sitting in
Excellent.
The only non-racing thing is
it. But it's got a checkerboard cover on the back.
yes, it does. But,
So you know it's me.
Yeah, but that museum, I mean, it's got race cars, it's got parts and equipment, stuff you can relate to, doors, roofs, you name it, it's there.
Anything that you can possibly, dirt, asphalt, from the tracks, the fences, the
You got
gates.
some seats from some of the stadiums left over?
Of course.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
wood, the asphalt pavement, the padlock, all the floodlights from Islip Speedway, all the floodlights from Freeport Stadium. I have
That's awesome.
the guardrail posts from the Vanderbilt Cup races in 1908.
What
I have 30, 40 of those too.
What he really needs is a building about the size of
Yeah.
a 3/4 mile track to put it all in.
Yeah, it really needs a good building, and I don't know if that's ever going to happen.
Right.
I sure would like it to happen while I'm still here. So
I-
I could direct the whole
I
thing.
had gone up to Stony Brook and you had a little display up there.
Yeah, I did a nice job up there.
That was so nice.
Yeah.
It was so nice.
Wherever I go, I do a good job, but I don't make any money. And even if I did, it wouldn't be enough to pull off what we really need done.
Yep.
We really need. This is a one-man operation,
Mm-hmm.
and it's can't stay that way.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting older now, and everybody keeps reminding me of that. And it really needs to go somewhere where it can be operated forever.
And that's
Your last birthday, you told me you were 39.
Well, I still am.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Jack Benny got away with it, didn't he?
yeah. And preserving the past. And I always say, one of the sayings I always say is, you know, you got to keep the past where it is, but you have to remember it. You got to know where you came from before you know where you're going.
Amen.
There's one sad story as I'm giving a tour sometimes. I drove A.J. Foyt's Indianapolis car that he won a couple of Indy races in, and I'm kind of proud of that. I got a picture there with me driving it. And as I'm walking towards that photo, I'll say to the people that are following me, have you ever heard of A.J. Foyt? Because I want to brag a little bit, you know? And they say, no, can't say that I did. I said, oh my, what's going on? That's sad.
Yeah.
And it ruins my day too.
Yeah.
'Cause I want to brag.
Yeah, you have a whole generation who's just forgetting all
Yeah,
about
they are.
that. They did a poll just real quick. I saw it in the newspapers that in the next 10 to 15 years, driving stick shift will be a thing of the past because there's so few people who
Not
even
at-
know how to do it anymore.
Not at my house.
Not at your
I
house.
still drive a 77-year-old car every day.
I always drive stick. I'm a big stick
Every
guy.
day, 77 years old.
We're going to wrap this segment up, and gentlemen, you're going to come back next week to do
Yes.
part
Yep,
two.
yep.
We're going to wrap this up. I want to thank everybody for taking the time out of your busy schedules to come and watch and be a part of this. I want to thank you. Wherever your endeavors bring you this week, please be safe, please be careful. Tell somebody you love them, give them a hug. God bless you all. We'll see you next time.